welcome to Lynde House. My name is Patty, and I'm from the Costume People. We are a small business in Oshawa that we're anything Victorian, which means we do costume reproductions, we do seminars. We have a collection of Victorian clothing that starts from 1790 and goes up to 1920, which we're more than willing to bring one or two pieces to your venue to tell about the ladies who owned them in their lives during that time. Today, we're going to do a seminar. We're actually going to do two seminars of pioneer rag dolls. And these were dolls that all children had at the turn of the century. They were very easy to make and were made from anything that you have laying around the house. In this particular case, we're going to talk about wool dolls and dolls that are actually made out of rags. So without further ado, we're going to build a rag doll. And this little rag doll here, she's called a wool rag doll, is named Miss Jill. So Jill is the kind of doll that they would have had in pioneer days, was made from very simple things from your household. This particular case is a wool one. In a few minutes, we're going to make another one that's very similar that's been made out of rags. So to make our little wool rag doll, what we need is a lot of wool. And we're going to make her body first, and all we're going to do is take a paperback, and we're going to wrap your wool around your paperback approximately 100-125 times. So I've done just about 100 here now, so I'll just finish this up. Okay, so we have 125 wraps on our book, so we'll just clip it off. And this is going to be the body of our doll. So our first thing we're going to need to do is take a little bit of wool and run it through the back of your book, up through the top of your line of wool, and then we're going to tie it really tight, like so. Actually, it's probably even better just to take it off the book. Oh, I wrapped it really tight. Okay, so now we have really tight tie on the top of it. And this, like I said, is going to be the body and the head of our little doll. So if you take your wool now, bring it down about an inch. You see it's all nice and puffy here. This is going to be the head of your doll at the top. I'm going to take another piece of wool and we're going to wrap it around her neck. And we're going to tie it. We're going to do her good and tight. So now we have your doll head. And if you look here, so the next thing we need to do is we have her body. We need to make arms. See her little arms here? And the way that we do that is we're going to wrap our wool on the short side of your book. And we're going to wrap it around your book about 25 times. So we've wrapped our wool around our book about 25 times. And this is going to give us enough to make her arm width. So we'll pull this off the book, like so. And then we're going to pinch it up just a little tiny bit and wrap our wool around. We're going to make her hands. So here's one hand on this side. Get in there. Okay. And then on the other side, we're going to do the same thing. We have another hand. Tie it up good and tight. Now we will make this so she doesn't have any weird little ratty ends. We're just going to clip and trim everything out of the middle here. So there's your arms. Now after the arms are done, we have to add this set of arms to the body. And we're going to take our body and we're going to split it in the middle. See here? Okay, so we're going to have a little hole in there. We take the arms, we're going to put the arms through the middle of the doll. And then everything comes down really tight. See how tight I've got that? And we're going to tie her around the waist, like so. And I like to do a double tie because this is going to be a pretty tight waist. She's going to be very tiny. And wants to be stubborn on me today. There we go. So look at that. Isn't she cute? There's her little arms and her little head and her body. And you notice here, I've got all these pretty little ends here. You can leave it round like this, or you can trim it off like I have it trimmed off here. And I think just for now, I'll leave her round until we get her quite finished up. Now, yeah, she's cute, but we need to make her cuter. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some hair. And the hair is the same wrapping that we did with this short end of the book. So I'll go off camera, do that, and we'll start back up in a second. So now I've wound more wool around the short end of the book 25 times, 25, 30, depends on how much hair you want her to have. I'm going to give her fairly full hair. So we're going to clip it off like we did just before. We're going to run some brown thread through the top. So we'll leave a good tail because we're going to use this piece of tail to tie it onto her head. I'll show you that in a second. So let's pull this off. And there's her hair. First thing we need to do is tie her hair so it doesn't go anywhere. And we want to make sure that when your knot is tied that it's going crossways like this. And I'll show you the reason for that in just a second. Right. So it doesn't look like much, but it's going to be here in a couple seconds. Okay, so I've wound the thread, or the wool 25 times. We've pulled it off the book and I've tied it. We've left a little tail and we've threaded it with a darning needle because this little darning needle and tail is going to hold the hair onto your doll. So we're going to take your hair, you're going to lay it on your doll so that she looks cute. And we're going to run the thread with the darning needle through your doll's head. And then we're going to tie it. So we pulled the wool through the doll's head and we pulled the needle off. Then what we're going to do is just tie this together so that it's tying the hair onto the top of your doll. Now it looks kind of funny right now, but we're going to fix it in just a sec. Well, now she has this weird little mop on her head that we have to fix. So we're going to manipulate the wool around a little bit so that it looks like she has nice hair on her head. So you notice she have a funny little loop at the back of her head. Using your fingers, just smooth it down as best you can until it gets close to her. See how it's framing her face and it looks nice now? Now we're going to take another piece of brown thread and we're going to just tie it around her head just lightly because this is going to keep her hair in place. And it's going to look like at the back she's got a little bun. And once I get this tied, I'll show you. She's tied, clipped. So there she has, oh, she's got funny little hairs hanging out here. Okay, so there's her hair on her front. And if you turn her around, like all Pioneer ladies, she has her hair tied back in a little bun. Now we have one more thing to do to our Miss Jill, and that would be to put an apron on. You see like we have the little apron here? So that step is exactly the same as we did before. You wrap your wool collar 25 times around your book, and we'll do that part next. So we're going to clip this off, just like we did before. Take another piece of wool, and we're going to run it through, just like before. I'm going to slip this off of the book. Then we're going to tie it again. Now you're going to need a good length of string because we're also going to use this string to tie. You see how it's tied around the top of the neck of the doll? That's how we're going to hold it onto her top of her body. Just give this a little shake. And actually, what we might even do is just clip these threads at the other end so that she has a nice even end for her apron. I'm just clipping them off. It's kind of like opening a pom-pom. There, now we take the tied threads and we arrange them around the top of her neck like this. And you can tie your string over or under, it doesn't really matter. It's all it's doing is holding her apron to her body. And it looks like she's got a pretty colored ribbon on her hair. So then we take this apron bit here and we just spread it out a little bit, make it nice and even. And then we take our other piece of apron string and we tie it around her waist. I'm just going to put her down here. And we don't want to do this too tight, but tight enough so that we know that she has a waist. And there's her apron strings hanging down. And we'll arrange her apron so it's nice and pretty. And there we have Jill the wool doll.